Welcome to Living Beyond the Invisible, the podcast that explores life with invisible disabilities. I'm your host, Heather, and today we're discussing a condition that affects millions of people, but often goes unnoticed or is misunderstood, and that is fibromyalgia. Thank you all for being here today. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who has downloaded this podcast and everyone who has given it a listen. You all mean so very much to me. All right, let's jump right into this week's episode. Fibromyalgia, what is it? What can cause it? What can ease the pain? And how is it diagnosed? This is something that I personally battle with every single day. And I have found that even in the medical community, fibromyalgia is so misunderstood and often a diagnosis that is given when doctors have no idea what else it could possibly be. In fact, I was just officially diagnosed in April of this year after roughly 5 years of trying to figure out what was wrong with me. It was so difficult to get a doctor to believe me when all of my tests were coming back normal. So let's jump right in and get started, shall we? Fibromyalgia is a disorder characterized by widespread musculoskeletal pain, accompanied by fatigue, sleep, memory, and mood issues. Researchers believe that fibromyalgia amplifies painful sensations by affecting the way your brain and spinal cord process painful and non-painful signals. While there is no cure for fibromyalgia, a variety of medications can help control symptoms. Exercise, relaxation, and stress reduction measures also may help. But as I have personally found out, those things don't always work either and seem to just be a temporary Band-Aid or quick fix. So let's talk about the symptoms and how you might know you have fibromyalgia. These are the biggest symptoms, and we'll break each of them down here in just a minute. But they are widespread pain, fatigue, cognitive difficulties, as well as a few others that I'll touch on again a little later in this episode. So let's start off with the widespread pain, since that is the biggest symptom. According to the Mayo Clinic website, widespread pain is the pain associated with fibromyalgia. It is often described as a constant dull ache that has lasted for at least 3 months. To be considered widespread, the pain must occur on both sides of your body and above and below your waist. Now, I will admit that I do have a constant dull ache every single day all over my body. But anyone that has fibromyalgia knows that a dull ache is not the only type of pain you have. Trying to describe my pain is so difficult because most people honestly don't believe me, or they can't believe me because it is truly so hard to fathom that someone could feel all of these things all at once. To give you an idea of what I go through most days, and even more so on bad days, first, I want you to clear your mind and imagine that you have the flu. Now, while you have the flu, you get a really nasty sunburn all over your body. Now, while all of this is going on, you are also being crushed by a huge rock that is just crushing your whole body. And then to top it all off, someone is stabbing daggers into you from head to toe. And that, my friends, is just a taste of what it feels like. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to say, but Heather, there is no way you feel all of that at one time. And don't worry, you wouldn't be the first person to question me. Even my husband and my mom have both questioned me in the past. Sadly, though, I do feel that all at once. And while it may not feel like that all day, every day, the bad days are even worse than I can describe. But you're probably wondering, well, what about the good days? And let me just tell you, the pain is unbearable no matter if it's a good day or a bad day. The good days just seem to be a little bit better and I can make it through a little easier. I will say, though, that even on the bad days, I have gotten really, really good at pretending I'm okay. So now that you have an understanding of what widespread pain can feel like, let's move on to fatigue. The Mayo Clinic website has this to say about fatigue. People with fibromyalgia often awaken tired, even though they report sleeping for long periods of time. Sleep is often disrupted by pain, and many patients with fibromyalgia have other sleep disorders such as restless leg syndrome and sleep apnea. So my thoughts on this, while I do agree with some of how they describe fatigue, and it honestly may be how it is for others, fatigue affects me differently. I do wake up tired. I go to bed tired. I rarely sleep because the pain is so bad. If I do sleep, I wake up multiple times throughout the night because of that pain and stiffness. Now, I have not been diagnosed with restless leg syndrome, but it is something that I am currently talking to my doctors about because I do think that I may have it. And I do have sleep apnea, which I use a CPAP machine for. And while that has helped a little bit with the sleep apnea portion of it, it has not helped a whole lot with the fibromyalgia portion and the pain portion. And so most mornings I wake up and I'm just in as much pain as I was the night before when I went to bed, if not more so. Because usually after being in bed all night and not really being up and moving and working my bones and muscles, I am very stiff. So as you can imagine, getting dressed is sometimes a really big challenge. Like I said, some days are worse than others, but almost every day it's a struggle just to get out of bed and get dressed. Let me put it this way. It's like if I had batteries, they would run out by mid-morning or even earlier on bad days. Sometimes I would wake up, it's like you didn't charge your cell phone the night before and you are completely out of cell phone battery. That's kind of how it feels. So just touching on my sleep apnea really quickly, I was just diagnosed with that in March of this year. So that kind of hindered getting my diagnosis for fibromyalgia, because sleep apnea can kind of mimic fibromyalgia. Unfortunately though, because the CPAP machine did not really help, my pain levels much, like it didn't do what my doctors thought it would do. They were like, yep, it's definitely fibromyalgia. So then next up, the next symptom is, cognitive difficulties. This is commonly referred to as fibrofog, and it impairs the ability to focus, pay attention, and concentrate on mental tasks. I'm not really sure how this affects others with fibro, but for me, I feel like my brain is failing every single day. I mean, I struggle to remember words. I will forget what I'm saying right in the middle of a sentence, and trying to learn new things is almost impossible anymore. I feel like I am constantly living in a fog. I can't even begin to describe how stupid and ridiculous that makes me feel. And now I know I'm not stupid, but man, do I feel it all the time anymore. To give you an example, and it's okay if you laugh at this example because honestly, I laugh at it now. The other day I was talking to my mammal and, we were, going right along with our conversation. And then all of a sudden I couldn't remember the word sky. I was talking about, that particular day. It looked like it was going to storm. And I was talking about, that and I could not remember the word sky. It was just no longer in my vocabulary. I had to literally explain to her what I was trying to say. And she was like, you mean sky? And I'm like, yep, that's the word. That's the word I'm looking for. And unfortunately, this, my friends, happens way more than I would like to admit. And so another quick little side note, I do write out all of my episodes in advance. I think I may have mentioned that in a previous episode. And the reason for that is if I don't, there's no telling where my brain would end up. There's no telling what I would forget. I would go on a rant about something completely unrelated to the episode. But while I'm writing the episodes out, sometimes I even have to stop and ask someone, hey, what's this word? What am I trying to think? Or what am I trying to say? And they'll have to help me. Or if nobody's home, which, with my kids back in school and my husband working and my oldest off at college, sometimes I'm home alone when I'm writing these episodes because I work during the day to write them. I will have to completely reword something because I literally cannot think of what I was going to say. I will have the idea, but the word is gone. So I mean, these are things that happen all the dang time. And oh my gosh, guys, last year when I was going through chemo, I was even worse of a mess because I was dealing with the fibro fog and the chemo fog at the same time. And it was horrible. I think I talked nonsense most of the time because I couldn't remember words. So those are the three main symptoms of fibromyalgia, but they aren't the only symptoms. Irritable bowel syndrome, chronic migraines, anxiety, depression, and several other symptoms can be due to fibro as well. I won't spend a ton of time on those symptoms, but I will say that I myself struggle with irritable bowel syndrome, though I don't have an official diagnosis for that. It is, again, something we are working on. I do struggle with migraines, and I have for years. In fact, migraines was kind of the first indication that something was amiss. I have been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Now, I do want to mention that I don't believe the PTSD is caused by the fibro. I think that was caused by my CHD, but I only mention it here because it does come into play at times when I'm having a fibro flare. I've mentioned fibro flare-ups or fibro flares a couple of times now, and you're likely wondering what a fibro flare is. And that is a good question. With fibromyalgia, we tend to have triggers or stressors that can cause our pain to flare up or get worse. These flare-ups, at least for me, are what cause my bad days and have many, many triggers. Stress is probably my biggest trigger, but there are plenty of others as well. The weather can be a trigger. Certain things I eat, exercise, just getting out of bed, and so much more. There are times when I honestly have no idea what triggered it, but the list is so long, I really don't have time to talk about all of the triggers, and it really is different for everyone. But with a flare-up, my pain is way worse than it is on a normal day. So now that I've explained all of that, you're probably wondering what causes fibromyalgia. According to several experts, they believe that repeated nerve stimulation causes the brain and spinal cord of people with fibromyalgia to change. This change involves an abnormal increase in levels of certain chemicals in the brain that signal pain. In addition, the brain's pain receptors seem to develop a sort of memory of the pain and become sensitized, meaning they can overreact to painful and non-painful signals. I've heard from several doctors who believe trauma can play a huge part in causing fibromyalgia. Now, for me, it is believed that my childhood trauma from CHD could have been the basis for my fibromyalgia diagnosis. But I honestly have no definitive proof of that. Some also believe that genetics can cause fibromyalgia and that it may run in families. Others even believe that infections or illnesses can lead to fibromyalgia. But as I mentioned in our last episode, there are not many studies proving this idea. Now, while men can absolutely be diagnosed with fibromyalgia, it is diagnosed more often in women than it is men. I couldn't find any statistics on why this might be, so I can't even begin to speculate. But it does make me go back to what I said earlier about fibro being a catch-all diagnosis. And let's be honest, women tend to be ignored or have a harder time getting people to believe us when something is wrong than men do. I know that this is probably going to make some mad, but it is true. I mean, there are studies out there that show that women are less likely to be believed than men when it comes to chronic pain or illness, which honestly makes me sad. But it does happen. It's one of the many reasons it took 5+ years for me to get an official diagnosis. And while I'm sure I do have fibromyalgia, I'm not 100% convinced that it is all I have. But I still can't get anyone to believe me that there's more going on. They hear that I have widespread pain, and the easy answer is fibromyalgia. So that's what I have to live with. Living with fibromyalgia can affect your ability to function at home or at work. Many people living with fibro end up unemployed due to this debilitating illness. I myself am currently unemployed, and I am trying to get on disability because of my health issues. Fibromyalgia is, of course, only one contributing factor to my need for disability, but it is a huge one. That and my CHD are probably my two biggest factors. The fact that fibromyalgia is so misunderstood can lead to depression and anxiety, not being believed, called lazy, or just flat out told you're lying about your pain and fatigue takes a huge toll on your mental health. I've lived with it for years, and it still lingers. So these types of things, including the pain and the other symptoms, can cause you to struggle at home, or it can cause you to struggle at work. So those are things to think of the next time you hear someone has fibromyalgia. They are struggling big time. Give them some grace for sure. So we've discussed what fibromyalgia is, what the symptoms are, and how it affects your day-to-day. But how is it diagnosed? And that is a good question. In the past, doctors would check 18 specific points on a person's body to see how many of them were painful when pressed firmly. Some doctors do still use the pressure point check as well. But newer guidelines from the American College of Rheumatology don't require a tender point exam. Instead, the main factor needed for a fibromyalgia diagnosis is a widespread pain throughout your body for at least 3 months. My rheumatologist did do a tender point check, and then also, talked to me about all my symptoms and did some blood work. I think it honestly just depends on what each doctor believes and how they were trained. There is no one size fits all. There is also no one size fits all as far as a blood test goes to rule it out. Now, to meet the criteria for fibromyalgia, you must have pain in at least 4 out of 5 of these areas. The upper left side, which includes the shoulder, arm, or jaw. The upper right side, which includes the shoulder, arm, or jaw. The left lower side, including the hip, butt, or leg. Right lower side, including the hip, butt, or leg. And finally, the axial area, which includes the neck, back, chest, or abdomen. Now, guys, I am an overachiever, and I met all 5 areas of criteria. Go me. Yes, that's sarcasm. Even with these pain areas, your doctors will likely still do other tests to rule out, other illnesses and causes. Now, I mentioned, I think a little bit ago that I had several blood tests to rule out thyroid issues, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and a battery of other autoimmune diseases. Everything for me came back fairly normal. So that is why I got the fibromyalgia diagnosis, and that is the criteria my symptoms met. But again, like I said, there is no single test that can diagnose fibromyalgia. It's more of a ruling out of other things before settling on that diagnosis. And yes, doctors can be wrong. So what can be done to ease the symptoms? There are several things that doctors can prescribe to help ease the pain and symptoms. Some will tell you to take over-the-counter medicines such as Tylenol, ibuprofen, or Aleve. They can also prescribe prescription-strength pain relievers. Most don't like doing that, though, due to their addictive properties. They may also prescribe antidepressants that have been shown to relieve symptoms. Certain anti-seizure medications can also be prescribed as well. These different medicines are thought to help with varying factors of fibromyalgia symptoms. For me, nothing has helped. Ibuprofen does sometimes take the edge off, but the pain and the fatigue is still there even with medicine. There are also non-medication options as well. Some doctors may suggest physical therapy or occupational therapy or possibly even counseling. Physical therapy is believed to help you learn exercises that can ease the pain and help you build strength. Occupational therapy is believed to help you adjust your life to help make certain tasks easier on your body. And counseling is to help you work through past trauma as well as help you learn to deal with the stress of having a disability. I have personally found that most things the doctors suggest are just that, suggestions, and they really have no clue how to truly help us. My rheumatologist flat out told me that he rarely prescribes medications for fibro anymore because so many of his patients and those of others as well state that they don't work. He told me I could ask my PCP for a prescription for Cymbalta if I wanted to try it, but I decided not to because I have tried it before and it did nothing for me. What he suggested was easing into exercise and build from there. He also suggested counseling to deal with my childhood trauma and learning to manage stress. All of those are great suggestions. However, exercise is a little difficult when I am in so much pain, but I am trying. While I haven't found anything that completely relieves my symptoms, I have found some things that help take the edge off. I mentioned ibuprofen a little bit earlier, and I do generally take that at night before bed. Like I mentioned, it doesn't completely stop the pain, but it will sometimes ease the pain enough that I can sleep a little bit. The thing that works the best for me, though, is to find a few moments and soak in a hot tub, either a bathtub or, standing under a shower, like a hot shower, or sitting in the hot tub. Those things take the edge off and they do relieve my pain, at least while I am in the water. But once I get out, of course, the pain does come back. It comes back slowly. So thankfully I do have, a few extra minutes of relief, but it does come back. And I do joke that if I could live in hot water, I 100% would. Like I said, exercising doesn't seem to help. But I do make sure I get up and move as often as I can so that I don't get stiff. So I truly hope that this episode has helped you to have a better understanding of what fibromyalgia is. Please reach out to me if you have any questions that I didn't answer in this episode, or if you think you may have fibromyalgia and you're not sure where to start or how to advocate for yourself. I would be very happy to help you. You can email me at livingbeyondtheinvisible@gmail.com or find me at Living Beyond the Invisible on Facebook and Instagram. Next week, we are going to be discussing breast cancer. And while that was originally supposed to be one episode, I have had to split it into two. So just be prepared for that. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Living Beyond the Invisible. I hope you found the insights and stories shared today helpful and inspiring. Remember, living with an invisible disability is a journey, and together we can navigate the challenges and celebrate the triumphs. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more listeners and build a stronger community. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok at Living Beyond the Invisible for updates and additional resources. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep living beyond the invisible.